Hi, everybody. Welcome to DiscoverCollegeSoccer.com. I am excited today to be joined by Coach Joe Schwartz. Coach is from Southwestern College, which is actually in Kansas. So not to throw anybody off by the directional name there. Um, welcome, Coach. Glad to have you today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So let's kick it off. Start talking a little bit about how you do your recruiting. When do you start looking at players, or when do players usually start contacting you? Like when, are they freshmen, sophomores, juniors, et cetera?
Yeah, so we're finishing up our 22 class right now. We're pretty much done talking with everyone that we're interested in. We always keep a couple extra spots on the roster for, just in case. We picked up a very good midfielder at the end of the summer, in June actually of last year. So, it's never too late to contact us. We're really starting to hit our 23s pretty hard, and this is actually my first year in charge of the program. So kind of where we want to be is about this time looking at we're looking at the 23 class. So next spring, we want to start off in about February, looking at the 24 class really hard. But we'll talk with anyone. We're talking to a couple 24s right now. A couple 25s have reached out to us. So we won't ignore you for sure. But that's kind of our timeline and everything in terms of what we're looking at.
So how many inbound communications do you think you get in a day or a week from recruits?
It's hard to measure a lot. We get a lot of internationals contacting us. We're on field level and the NCSA website, so we get quite a few recruits every week that are interested or reach out to us and send us emails and things like that. And so it's or just straight up email or text us. So between me and my assistants, I think that we probably get at least 10 to 20 on a slow week. So quite a few reach out.
Okay. What are some of the things you like to see in that first communication from a recruit?
It's really nice to see that they actually know about our school a little bit, whether they're interested in a certain major or area of study, or they know our mascot, which is kind of a unique mascot, or they know that we're the Southwestern in Kansas and not the one in Oklahoma or Texas or California. And so, it's just nice that they've done a little bit of research about our school, and it's not just a generic email, that you could tell that they send out.
Sure. So where do you spend a majority of your time on the recruiting trail? What were some of the tournaments you like to get to? Or do you go check out high school games? Where do you tend to spend a lot of your time?
Yeah, again, this is my first year kind of in charge of the program, and actually my first year as a college coach as well. So we generally like to hit the local tournaments and showcases and things like that as often as we can. I think it's great to bring in local talent because you get a good fan base from that, and that's something that we really look for. Fans are important, and we want to be supported locally. But we're planning on going to Las Vegas for the big showcase there in March. We've looked at going down to Florida. We do a lot of our recruiting in Texas. We have a lot of our players reach out from there. So we're not really, as long as it's in our budget to go and we think it's a good showcase, we're not opposed to going. We do go to some high school games as well. I think something, and I'm sure a lot of college coaches feel this way, is when we go somewhere, we want to try to get the best bang for our buck, especially with our budgets and everything. So showcases are typically easier just because there's so many teams there and so much talent that we can see a lot of players at without having to do a lot of travel, all in one place. So, but we do like to go and support local, like I said, getting out to high school games and things like that during their season.
Oh, makes sense. What about camps? How do camps kind of fit into your recruiting process, whether that's your own or others?
Yeah, we've gone to a couple local camps. There's some clubs locally that run different ID camps and things like that, and so we always go to those, just because again we're interested in local talent, and But we do run a couple of our own ID camps. We actually just ran one this past January and had about 40 girls there. So it was good to see a mix of kind of 22s, 23s, and I think a couple 24s came to that. So and we're looking to run a couple more of those this semester. But I definitely think it's important to bring in those players, and so they get their kind of their first experience on a college campus, meet the girls, see the talk about financial aid and talk with professors, things like that. So
No, that's great. So do you have a set number of players that you try to bring in every year?
not really. I think generally we try to bring in 10 just because we graduated about that many. This year we graduated 7, so a little below that. But when we recruit, we really just talk to the positions and the types of players that we need. And so we try to run a roster of between 33 and 40. So just trying to maintain that because of, some players get injured, ineligible, things like that. And then we don't out recruit a position either. We only have a certain number of spots available for each position. That way it stays competitive in terms of who's competing for that first team spot, or starting versus a sub player, things like that.
So, let's just, for the heck of it, we'll say 40 on the
Yeah.
roster. But so what is kind of the breakdown of kind of scholarships and that? I know you guys are NAIA, so how many of those players are going to be on athletic money versus academic money, et cetera?
Yeah, the way we do our scholarships, we do scholarship stacking. So everyone on the team has an athletic scholarship. Not everyone has the same scholarship. We can offer a range, but everyone's scholarshiped, and also receives academic. And academics just on a scale based on either your ACT or SAT score, whichever test you take, as well as your GPA. So you could actually go to our website and see how much academic money you would receive. And then you can also add any type of scholarship locally that you get or nationally. And we are Methodist affiliated. So we don't have, required chapel or you have to sign a life contract or anything like that. But we do church matching, and you don't have to be Methodist to receive that church matching. So that's another financial option. And of course, the FAFSA. Yeah, everyone enjoys that. Determines the grants and the loans and things like that. But really, you can add as many scholarships and things onto your package as you want. So because of how we do the stacking.
No, that's awesome. All right. Well, let's I guess one more question on that is on the recruiting side of things.
Mhm.
Do you guys look at transfers at all, and do you have any walk-ons that come on at all?
Yeah, and like I said, even if they walk on, they just come and trial with us, they would receive an athletic scholarship. But we're actually bringing a couple transfers in this year. And like I said before, we try to keep our numbers really balanced. We don't want one class to have 20 players in it. But we bring transfers in to maybe fill in gaps of where we think we need some more experience, whether that's on the mental side. Maybe we need someone coming in that's kind of been there, done that kind of thing, or if it's for a specific position and things like that. So we're bringing in 2 or 3 transfers this upcoming season to kind of fill in some gaps, in terms of we need some experience on the field a little bit more in certain spots.
Well, let me dive into that a little bit. So you just mentioned, wanting someone who maybe has some experience or a specific mental, capacity or something that, a little bit of edge to them, whatever that may be. But so what are some of the things that when you are recruiting, that you're looking at, whether that's on the field or off the field? What are some of the, tier one, like, I got to have this in a player?
Yeah. Well, of course, there has to be a certain level of technical ability and tactical understanding, athleticism, things like that. But really what we're looking for in players is kind of more of a mentality. Besides they should be a good soccer player. Obviously, we want to bring good players in. But we want someone that, seems to have a good attitude on the field, works hard. I think that, that's something that can't really be coached. It's just that mentality that I'm going to, put in a hard day's work every time I step on, whether that's training or the game. And someone that we feel that we can help improve, and that's coachable. I think that that's huge, especially for the way that we play. But definitely they need to be a good player. But I think in terms of the mental side of things, just, being a hard worker, being coachable. We don't really take into account the way they play their position necessarily. I mean, if they don't do something exactly how we would do it tactically, for all we know, their club coach or their high school coach told them to play that way, right? And so when we recruit, we look for those aspects I just talked about, especially in the first time that we watch them play. And then we reach out to them. We get to know them a little bit more as a person, and see how they might affect our team chemistry and things like that. And then we really want to get them to campus to train with the girls and put them kind of in an environment, a college environment where they're going to train with us and play with us and just see how they do with that.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your school. I'm down here in Florida, and I'm willing to bet a whole lot of money that a lot of the kids at my club would have never heard of Southwestern College in Kansas. So, what is something that, or a couple things that you'd like to share that's awesome about Southwestern that maybe I'm not going to find just by clicking around the website?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, because I'm actually an SC alum, I played for the men's side back in 2011 through 13. The biggest thing that makes Southwestern a special place, and I wouldn't have come back if I didn't like it, right, to work here, is just the staff. The staff are incredible. They're very supportive of the athletes, and I know you don't always get that a lot from the academic side of things. But give you an example, our captain got a concussion, and before she got back to, well, when she got back to her dorm room, she checked her email or saw she had notifications, and 3 of her professors had already emailed her that was like, don't worry about coming to class, we'll postpone your assignments, get better, those types of things, because they come to the games. They're supportive of what we're trying to do, and I think that's pretty awesome. And like I said, I really enjoy my time here, and that's kind of my goal as a coach, is to help them be successful on the field, but help them have a great experience at Southwestern as well. So the staff definitely make a huge difference in everyone's time here at SC. So
No, that's great. Well, at SC, how do student athletes kind of balance their academic and athletic endeavors at the same time?
yeah, so the way we do our schedule is we try to avoid anything around the core class time, about 8 to 3. And so normally our weights, our training, all that's in the late afternoon and evenings to accommodate that. Now, obviously we have games, and we might have to travel and things like that. But in terms of that, the staff are really good about working with student athletes. As coaches, we'll send out emails at least 24 hours before of who's traveling. But we also expect our athletes to reach out to the professors and, set up appointments if they're going to miss a test or and something like that, or a lab, to kind of make that up. But we also require study hall for those that have below a 3.0 GPA, and all incoming freshmen their first semester, to help them transition and be successful. We take our academics very seriously. And there's also free tutoring for specific majors, but also just in general in the student center, which is really nice. But those are just a couple ways that they can help be supported academically, but also be successful athletically as well. So
No, that's great. Which actually brings me to my next question. What support mechanisms are there in place, either from the academic side or the athletic side, for students to take advantage of while they're in school?
yeah, so like I mentioned before, the free tutoring. Now, some specific majors will have a graduate assistant that leads that tutoring, but there is just generic, student tutoring in the Student Life Center. And also, like I said, when we do study hall, it's the coaches are there to help as well. So,
Okay.
or they get into study groups. And a lot of times the girls that don't have to come to study hall will come to study hall just to have a quiet place to work or to help someone else. So, because many girls are in the same major or have taken, classes previously to help some of their teammates out. So those are just a couple ways. We do also have an early alert system. So if a student's struggling, whether that's in assignments or attendance or on tests, we as coaches get notifications from their professors about where they're struggling. That way, mom and dad are on the same page, no players trying to play us against each other. So
Right.
yeah, that communication is huge. I feel between the athletic staff and the academic staff, and so it's a good relationship.
No, that's awesome. You mentioned a minute ago about, needing to miss classes for travel, games, of course, that's going to happen no matter where you're at. But how
Mhm.
far do you guys usually travel for games? Kind of what's your standard radius during the season?
Yeah, so typically, I would say when we're away, we're going to travel on average 2 to 3 hours. So
Oh,
not too bad.
no, it's not
Our
bad.
farthest away is maybe five hours. So we have one team that's in Nebraska, and we're really close to the Oklahoma border. So we have to drive basically the um, up through the state. But most of our teams are along the interstate there. We have one down in Oklahoma. Um, so it's not too bad. So
Okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about the team. If I'm an incoming freshman, what should I expect? Do I have a shot at playing, or you said you carry a heavy roster? Do you guys have like a JV reserve situation or anything like that?
yeah, so our philosophy is if you're good enough, you're old enough, we'll play true freshmen. We actually did this past year. One of our center backs, we play a three back. One of our center backs, incoming freshmen, started off on our reserve squad, earned some time on first team, and then got an opportunity to start and just took it and ran. She ended up getting COVID after she earned her starting spot
Oh, poor
and
kid.
had to go through that 2, 3 weeks of being gone and recovering, came back and had to start over again, reserve squad. And by the end of the season, though, she was there starting again and deserved every minute. So um, we do have a reserve squad. I think that a lot of 4-year programs, you're going to see, rosters close to 30, no matter where you're at. So, and for us, that's kind of frustrating for those 10, 12 players that don't get picked or don't get a lot of playing time, if any. So we push kind of closer to that 40 mark. So we can have that reserve squad. We use it more like a bell curve than a varsity JV. Everyone trains together. So we have everybody for the most part right here. Of course, you have your outliers, right? Some players that need a little bit more development, whether that's physically or mentally or just technically, tactically. And then you have your players, as long as they're doing what they're supposed to, they're fantastic. And everyone would agree that they should start and play a lot of minutes. But the reason we do that is we need to develop players. Everyone is scholarshiped, but the way we do our scholarships, we definitely can't offer full rides or anything like that. So we have to develop players. And from coaching that it only takes one game and you could have 2 or 3 injuries. And so we want to make sure that those players that are on reserve are ready to make the jump to first team if and when they need to go there. So training together and it's also a good competitive thing, because if you're starting on first team, your spot's not safe. It's not your spot because someone's right there gunning for you and is going to be ready to take that spot, if they need to. And so it worked really well for us this past year. Of course, communication is huge with that, because everyone wants to play first team, everyone wants to start. But we definitely make sure that the girls are aware that being on reserve team is not a bad thing. That's your time to shine and show us that you're ready for first team. But like I said, we don't do it by grade or anything. It's definitely by, ability. We start our best 11. We suit up our best 2022. And it goes back and forth. It's, if you're on first team, you're definitely, not safe. Like I said, you shouldn't get comfortable. And if you're on reserve squad, you could easily be in first team within the next match. Our team that we started with at the beginning of the year looked a lot different than the team we ended with. And so we're a development program. And so getting playing time for those players is very important to us, because training's great, but you got to get that experience at the college level, in games, especially in positions that don't get subbed a lot, like center back and goalkeeper. We want them to be ready for when their number is called. So, but that's kind of how we use our reserve squad and our system, in order to be competitive, not just within our team, but also to develop players so we can be competitive in our conference.
That's good. In terms of coaching staff, how many do you have? What is everybody's role on the staff?
Yeah, so I'm the head coach, and I have an assistant, who, for our field players, as well as he's a GA, and I also have a shared goalkeeper GA. We share him with the men's. They're both fantastic and a huge part of our success this past year. But we also have an athletic trainer who's just for our team. We don't share him with the men's program, which I think is huge. So it's great for when the girls, whether they have, a little knock, or, we had a couple that unfortunately, had an ACL injury or something like that. They can go in, they basically have an app and they set an appointment. They go in like the doctor and get their treatment, and they're done. So he's fantastic. He comes with us to all our away games. He's there at all our training sessions. He's a very important member of our staff in that. We also have a strength and conditioning coach, so that's their full-time job. They're professionals in that, and it's great that I don't have to go in there and try to teach people how to lift and do that kind of thing. And he has a GA as well. So really we have, he's not just for us. He obviously they work with everyone, but he's fantastic, and he's been really, really good. We're in our off season now, and their movement, we've really been kind of back for a couple weeks, and their movement's already so much better. And so he's really good at what he does. So
yeah, let's talk a little bit about that off-season program. What does that look like we're talking in February, what is that like, I guess, from that January coming back from break through the spring?
Yeah, so we're really focused on, in the fall when we're in season, is performance, right? Getting our team ready to perform and to go as long into postseason as we can, which is always a challenge for freshmen, I think, to understand. I think they think when they come in the fall, they're going to, get a lot better, and we're going to focus on individual player development. But that's really what we focus on in the spring. And even our sophomores this year kind of struggled with that, because if we think to last year with the COVID season and kind of having split, they didn't really get a true off season in the spring. They were still, performing and in season. We obviously had individual meetings with them and talked to them about that. And they're really excited for this spring, as are we, because like I said, we're a development program. And I'm really excited to get started. This is actually our first week that we're starting our training. So because we have a 24-week rule, so there's only 24 weeks out of the year that we can train our athletes with a ball and a coach. We use 14 of those weeks in season, so we have 10 left. And so this is the first week coming in that we can train with them with the ball. Now before this, they could start weights, and they did pick up games, and they are very good about the captains about getting them together and doing a little bit of training and playing and things like that. Very dedicated group, which is great to see. But really our spring season is all about development. We do position specific training. So we break them up into their positions, and we just focus on the roles and responsibilities and the technical and tactical things that we want them to do in their position. And so we have them set 2 to 3 goals of what they want to work on individually, and that helps us kind of focus our training when we have the group, but we can still focus on those individuals as well. So they're getting a lot of more one-on-one during that time, which I think is huge for player development. But we also do things, we do whole team training where we put those position specific principles we work on and, put all those gears together and see how it works as a team. But we do futsal because it's cold here right now, so outdoor training is not always a thing. So we do a lot of futsal and indoor as well, as we have an indoor facility where they can go and work on things on their own. So we have them put together an individual player development program, and it's something that we as coaches look at frequently to help them stay on track of where they need to be and what they need to work on, give them ideas for drills and activities and different things that they can focus on their own, because doing the position specific stuff and the team training is great and they will improve, but that working on your own is going to help just increase that growth
Sure.
and development in spring. And that's really what we're shooting for, to help give them ideas and prime them this spring so that they can continue that over the 3 months of summer, so they can come in fit, mentally ready, and have a great understanding of what they need to do to be ready for that August preseason.
So, having said all that, you're going into the season. How would you describe your style of coaching and your team style of play?
Yeah, so we call it purposeful possession. We like to build out of the back, but we recognize that that's not always an option depending on who you play. But we definitely want to be comfortable with the ball, and something that we focus on in training is playing quickly, and how we define that is by making quick decisions, not always physically playing fast. And so, do we need to dribble to take this person on, or we need to play the ball? Or are we looking to switch the play? And so we definitely want to be able to play through the thirds. And we kind of run a unique formation in terms of our conference. Most teams run a 4-3-3. We run a 3-4-2-1. And it's nothing that we did to be fancy or anything. We just didn't have any outside backs, or not enough outside backs to run any, so had a lot of center backs. And so we started with the 3-back system, and it's worked really, really well for us. So our coaching style is, I don't really know how. I'm pretty laid back. I expect a lot of my players, and we don't really have any rules on our team. We have standards, because rules can be, bent and broken and, gotten around some way. But, we really empower our leadership on our team, our leadership counselor, and our captains to help players stay on track of where they need to be. And as coaches, we want to put our players in positions to be successful, whether that's on the field or off the field. And so we have high expectations, both academically and athletically. I think something that's really, really important to me as a coach is communication, whether that's, telling a player where they're at on the team, or whether a player's coming to us and, having that difficult conversation of why aren't they getting the playing time that they think they deserve, or whatever like that. So.
Okay. Well, hey, this has been great. I'm gonna get to our last question here. This is kind of the catch-all. This is where I give you a chance. Tell me, what else do you want to let prospects or recruits know that maybe we didn't cover that they should know about SC?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great school. It's a smaller school. I think the average class size is a 12-to-1 ratio. I know as a student myself from SC, I really enjoyed that. You really get to know your professors. and have a good relationship with them. In fact, I was a biology major, and one of our biology professors, because my wife went there as well, our kids call her Grandma Tammy. So you just build that relationship with your professors and the staff, and it really is, it's kind of a cliche, a family, but it really is, people come back and with First Small School, there's so much spirit. We get so much support from the student body, and from the staff as well. And our home games are usually pretty loud, and it's with a school of only 600-700 students, to have that many in our stands and that travel is pretty fantastic. But it's just a great place, if I think you have to experience for yourself. And so definitely interested if anyone wants to take a virtual tour or come see us, then we're definitely willing to host and share our beautiful campus and school with whoever wants to enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get some folks taking advantage of that and checking out Southwestern. And I appreciate your time. Wish you the best of luck in this off season and in the coming fall. And hopefully you guys can take home that conference championship.
That's what we aim for. So
all right. Well, thank you much, Coach. Appreciate
all
it.
right.
Take care.
You too.